Attorney General Bill Barr confirms growing suspicions that he is indeed DC's Swamp Thing, while Lin Wood dumps an airplane cargo hold full of gasoline on the wildfire that is our political climate. Is civil war all but inevitable, or are we already in it? All this and more on today's Revved Up. But first,
Every time who I am, well, I came, I'm a man, 6 shooters in both my hands. I'm a cold-blooded brother, a real bad mother. Watch out, honey, here I am.
welcome back to Revved Up with Ram Thorburn, and we got a jam-packed show for you today, bringing you that outlaw piss and vinegar, all the stuff that the media doesn't want you to hear, all the stuff that big tech doesn't want you to hear, and all the stuff that apparently even the people that we thought were on our side don't want you to hear. Yes, we have today, out from Breitbart, report, Bill Barr says DOJ has not uncovered evidence of widespread voter fraud. Now, I've been running pretty cold on Bill Barr for a while now. He has been investigating, or him and John Durham have been investigating the whole Obamagate, Spygate thing for going on years now, and all we have to show for it is some pissant little FBI lawyer, Kevin Kleinsmith, who forged some document. That's all we have to show for it. Despite the fact that for years now, for probably 2 years now, we have had the goods on all of it. Yet all they can produce is Kevin fucking Kleinsmith? I don't think so. I don't think so. We should have had that investigation wrapped up well before this election with indictments handed down. And we're going to get more to that in just a minute. But let's go ahead and get to what AG Barr is saying about the election, because he's saying that they haven't uncovered any election or any evidence of widespread voter fraud. And he needs to be really, really careful how he talks about this. He needs to be really careful because he is revealing himself. He's revealing himself to be that swamp creature that we were all afraid he might be. I mean, you got to realize, this guy was the Attorney General under George H.W. Bush. George H.W. Bush was no stranger to the swamp himself. And Trump has said time and time again, the FBI, the DOJ, all of these three-letter agencies, they are all corrupt to the core. And we all thought we got a good one at bringing Bill Barr out of retirement. But one thing that always struck me as odd, that has never sat right with me, with Bill Barr, was that his father was the head of the school that hired Jeffrey Epstein when Jeffrey Epstein was teaching math at that elite New York prep school despite being a college dropout. How did Epstein get that job? And he got hired by Bill Barr's father. That right there was the first time where I was just kind of like, oof, maybe Bill Barr isn't as clean as we think. If his family is tied up in all of this Epstein stuff and maybe goes all the way to the root of it, maybe Bill Barr isn't so clean. Now, I don't know. I can't say. We don't have any evidence on Bill Barr or anything like that. All we've known is that he has dragged his damn feet on the Spygate investigation, and he always just sits there all kind of bumbly, slow, and he seems slow to do anything. It seems like he doesn't want to do his fucking job. And so, Attorney General William Barr said Tuesday the Justice Department has not uncovered evidence of widespread voter fraud that would change the outcome of the 2020 presidential election, according to an interview he gave to the Associated Press. Barr reportedly told the AP that the U.S. attorneys and FBI agents have been working to follow up on specific complaints and information they've received, but they have uncovered no evidence that would change the outcome of the election. Well, what specific complaints and what specific information? Because there is very, very public information all over the place that does evidence widespread voter fraud that would absolutely change the election. I'm sure if you added up everything that's come out in the news, it would probably cut Biden's vote count in half. So I don't know exactly what the fuck AG Barr has been doing here. What specific complaints and information they've received that they've been investigating that make them think that there is no evidence that would change the outcome. What are they doing? So, to date, we have not seen fraud on a scale that would have affected a different outcome in the election. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we have. But they're not looking into that. They're not looking into that. The FBI, the DOJ, all of them just sitting on their damn hands waiting for Joe Biden to come into office. I wonder if AG Barr's trying to keep his position once Biden does come in. But the Trump team is firing back. Trump team is firing back, and the legal team slams Barr's comments on voter fraud and says there hasn't been any semblance of a DOJ investigation. So, President Trump's legal team responded to Bill Barr's comments on voter fraud with fire. With all due respect to the Attorney General, there hasn't been any semblance of a Department of Justice investigation. We have gathered ample evidence of illegal voting in at least 6 states, which they have not examined. They haven't even looked at it. We have many witnesses swearing under oath they saw crimes being committed in connection to voter fraud. As far as we know, not a single one has been interviewed by the DOJ. The Justice Department also hasn't audited any voting machines or used their subpoena powers to determine the truth. Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, and Trump campaign senior legal advisor said in a statement. That's Jenna Ellis. Nonetheless, we will continue our pursuit of the truth through the judicial system and state legislatures and continue toward the Constitution's mandate and ensuring that every legal vote is counted and every illegal vote is not. Again, with the greatest respect to the Attorney General, his opinion appears to be without any knowledge or investigation of the substantial irregularities and evidence of systemic fraud, Giuliani and Ellis added. Man, that is pretty scathing because he is the Attorney General. He should have an idea of what is going on in our election. Now, I don't know exactly what his purview is. I don't know exactly what his role is supposed to be. But you would think that he is at least abreast of all of this information that has been coming out. So why would he come out and say that we have seen no evidence? Now, maybe it hasn't been where he's looked, and he comes out and he says, you know, it does seem like there's a lot of suspicious behavior going on, but we only have certain areas that we can look at, and we haven't seen it where we're looking. But we are still investigating the situation. That doesn't seem to be what he said, though. That doesn't seem to be what he said. And it's really, really not good. And even Lin Wood here is coming out saying it's time to fire AG Barr. And I'm starting to get on board with that. Maybe we need to find out a little bit more before we go ahead and fire AG Barr. But I think his time is about up because he has had plenty of time to go over the whole to get indictments on the Obamagate thing, and he hasn't revealed anything. He hasn't said anything, which I know you gotta play some cards close to the chest and all that. But he has given us no indication that he is really looking to indict people, or that he has the balls to climb up the ladder in order to do it. So it says we need patriots helping Donald Trump if we are to save. Let's see. It says lies about Dominion, no action on Epstein, Durham, Hunter Biden laptop or Wiener laptop, a stolen election now being ignored. We need patriots helping @real Donald Trump if we are to save our country and freedom. Yes, and exactly. We've seen nothing on Epstein. We've seen nothing on Durham. We've seen nothing on the Biden laptop. Nothing on the Wiener laptop. A lot of these investigations are old as fucking dirt. Where's the goddamn results? What are you doing over there, Bill Barr? Jesus. But it's now come out also that AG Barr had appointed John Durham as special counsel to continue investigation in the origins of the Russia probe under the Biden administration. Now, that seems like good news on its face. This is like when Robert Mueller was appointed to a special counsel to investigate the bullshit Russia hoax that they're now investigating. That means that if Biden comes in, he won't really have the power to squash that investigation. So that seems like, well, hold on, Ram, pump your brakes. Maybe AG Barr isn't such a swamp rat after all. And you're right, maybe he isn't. But this is not as compelling as it seems on its surface. So Attorney General William Barr has appointed a special counsel to continue looking into the origins of the Trump-Russia investigation. The appointment of a special counsel means that the authority vested in the counsel cannot easily be taken away. U.S. Attorney John Durham will undertake the task. So Durham's position as special counsel ensures that the investigation will continue under the Biden administration. There won't be a Biden administration, but I guess they're hypothetically speaking. And it will be much more difficult for the investigation to be swept aside. He was appointed on October 19th. So this happened a month and a half ago, and we're just now learning about it. So, the appointment of Durham by Barr comes as Carr said that Durham's investigation has been focusing on those FBI agents who handled Crossfire Hurricane, which was what the Russia investigation was called as the transition of power went from President Barack Obama to President Donald Trump. It is the conduct of those agents that will be under scrutiny, according to the AP. And that is the incredibly deflating part of it all. Because the FBI is only a single player in the entire thing. That means that they're not going after Obama. They're not going after Biden. They're not going after Susan Rice. They're not going after Sally Yates. They're not going after all of the people in the previous administration that were involved, likely top down. Likely the FBI was taking their orders from these people. So they're probably not even going to go after James Comey, Robert Mueller, and Andy McCabe. They're probably going to go after like Peter Strzok and what's his name? Oh, God, why am I drawing a blank on it? Bill Priestap. Bill Priestap, the ones who interviewed Michael Flynn. They're probably going to go after them. Who they're high up in the FBI, but they're not the heads of the FBI. And we want to see the heads cut off of this monster. We don't want to see just a couple fingers cut off. We don't want to see an arm lopped off. We want all the heads of this goddamn Hydra just chopped off. But they're not going after that. We know that they're only going to come up with some middlemen. They're priming the pump for this. They're setting the stage for them to only be able to get a few fall guys that the deep state sets in place to go down for this. And then they're probably going to walk away with full pensions too. So Barr said that the investigation has narrowed considerably and is really focused on the activities of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation within the FBI. There are much, much larger players in this game, yet they are giving them a fucking pass. It's another reason why I think Bill Barr is a swamp rat. Maybe he comes out and proves me wrong. You know, we've been told, be patient, wait for the information to come out. It's a massive investigation. It takes a lot of time. It doesn't happen on our schedule. Fine. I get that. Maybe I will be proven wrong. But I'm sick of fucking waiting because we're seeing nothing. You know, when you got 74 million starving dogs, you got to toss them a bone every once in a while. And fucking Kevin Kleinsmith doesn't count. Does not count. Not one bit. And then, of course, we also have on our side the squishes. Lindsey Graham. After President Trump carries Lindsey Graham to victory, Graham says he thinks the president should show up to a Biden inauguration. Fuck that. No fucking way. There's no way that that President Trump should show up to Joe Biden's inauguration after we know that Joe Biden stole the fucking election from him. Hell no. And so, Lindsey Graham has some advice for President Trump should Biden steal the election. President Trump should attend Joe Biden's inauguration in January if Biden ends up becoming president, Senator Lindsey Graham, one of Trump's closest allies on Capitol Hill, said Monday. If Biden winds up winning, yeah, I think so, Graham told reporters. When he was asked whether Trump should attend the January 20th ceremony, I just think it's good for the country. It'd be good for him. No, it would not be good for the country, and it would not be good for him, because we are not fucking settling. We are not going to sit back and watch President Trump go to Joe Biden's inauguration and say, well, I guess that's it. No, motherfucker, if Joe Biden gets inaugurated, we're at war. Hell, we're already at war. But it's going to go up a notch. That war is going to go up a notch the moment Joe Biden is inaugurated. Hell, they were even saying that Joe Biden might not have a public inauguration because he's worried more Trump supporters than Biden supporters would show up. That's because Trump supporters outnumber Biden supporters about 10,000 to motherfucking 1. Just go look at any of the rallies. Maybe it's 1,000 to 1. Still. He's not getting a damn pass on this. And, you know, Lindsey Graham, I always hated Lindsey Graham. So it was kind of the same with Mitch McConnell. I couldn't stand Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell because they seemed like do-nothing rhinos that just bent over to the Democrats all the fucking time. But then Trump came along and you had Cocaine Mitch and Lindsey Grahambo. They reinvented themselves under Trump. And while I'm still, you know, McConnell has done a better job, I think, of holding that line. But Lindsey Graham seems like one of those establishment Republicans that will just do or say whatever he needs to do to stay in the good favor of whoever he thinks will keep him in power. He's kind of a dog for any bone. That's how I view Lindsey Graham. He's a weather vane. He points in whatever direction the wind is blowing. And so I'm not very happy to see him say this. He should be taking a more hostile tone than this if he's really backing our president. He should say there's no way that Biden is going to be inaugurated because we all know this was a goddamn sham. He threw in the if because he's not telling Donald Trump to concede. If he told Trump to concede, well then fuck, I'd write him off forever. But still, this is him. It feels like him hedging his bets. Feels like him hedging he's hedging his bets so that if Biden somehow ends up in office, he'll be okay. He'll be okay. He said, "Look, I tried to smooth things over. It just, it's Trump. What was I supposed to do?" No, we don't want you playing that game. And over at the Federalist, they're tired of playing that game too. And we got this awesome article, and it's pretty short, so I'm just going to read the whole thing because it really really sums up exactly how I'm feeling right now. And it says, the Not My President crowd needs to sit down and shut up. The left made the rules. I'm ready to play by them. Now, I talked about that in a video just the other day. I said that when you're at war, you don't get to set all of the rules of engagement. The opposition has a say too. And if they're willing to do certain things against you, you better be damn sure ready to do that against them or you will get stomped on. In fact, that's why the Republicans have been stomped on for so goddamn long and have never stood up for the people that elect them into office. Because they're never willing to accept the fact that they don't always get to write the rules and that the Democrats play a far dirtier game. So let's go ahead and read this. This is by David Marcus, and I'm not familiar with David Marcus, but I'm instantly a fan after reading this article. So, the leftist media is furious again, this time because Donald Trump is refusing to accept the results of the 2020 elections. Norms, they scream. We need a peaceful transfer of power, an acceptance of the results, they say. Wait. Aren't these the same people who cheered pussy hats and chants of "Not My President"? Those of us on the right don't forget about all of that. Now, they did a lot more than that. I mean, he is maybe pulling his punches a little bit. For 4 years, not a few months, the Democrats and their media allies insisted first that Trump's election was not legitimate and then that he was a Russian asset. It was an abject nonsense. It was abject nonsense, a lie. It was a hysterical and long-standing undermining of our democracy. Now these same clowns, these buffoons, are lecturing us about accepting the results. Absolutely, they can get fucked. So he continues, let me put this as plainly and cleanly as possible. We don't want to hear it. I think that's code. That's the polite way of saying get fucked. I'm not as polite. For the left, to demand now that we must accept the election and get behind the man Americans chose is such a sick and demented joke it's hard to fathom. These people said Trump was not my president so often that their vocal cords have a sense memory of it. They gave Trump absolutely no chance. Now I'm supposed to embrace Joe Biden for the sake of the country? Why don't you go, I'm sure you can fill in the blank there. Yeah, I'll fill in the blank. Go get fucked. And they're saying this. They're saying this. It's time to unite. It's time to heal. Bull fucking shit. They have run roughshod over us for the past 4 years. There's no chance in hell that we're not bringing it back to you. They only want that because they don't want to have to deal with us when they think they're going to be in power. They didn't give us that. We're not giving them that. We're playing by their fucking rules now. And they're going to see exactly what the fuck it's like. And we don't even have the institutional power that they have. So we don't have the ability to run cancel culture on everybody the way that they did to us. Maybe we should. Maybe we should. If you're a conservative and you own a business and somebody goes to apply for a job, or maybe you got people that are working for you. Maybe you got people that are working for you and you hear them talking about how happy they are Joe Biden is there. Fire them. Get them the fuck out of there. Let's run a cancel culture of our own. We're not going to solve this shit by playing nice with them. We're only going to solve this shit by stomping them into submission and saying, you did it to us, this is how it feels. Now, if you're ready to cry uncle, then we'll back off. But we're going to make them motherfucking cry uncle first. All right. So, he continues. This glorious rediscovery of high-mindedness is as infuriating as it is pointless. Of course, we aren't going back to the old days after the left destroyed any semblance of decency and fair play. What are we, stupid? No, we're not stupid. This is not how it works anymore. And you know what? Fine. I like the new rules. The ones the left created under Trump. Yeah, so do I. So do I. I'm going to be fucking vicious. I am perfectly happy to hold anything and everything Biden does as a president as suspect and illegitimate. How's that sound? Sound familiar? Biden is the very lovely and nice man who is bringing the drone team back together from the Obama administration to kill kids in the Middle East. He'll put our soldiers in harm's way, but he has that bright Irish smile that says all the right things. I don't know that he says all the right things. He says Truanana Shamata pressure and Batacaf care and the whole racial jungle. I mean, Joe Biden says hardly anything right. So I'm not sure I can give him a point on that, but he has the media interpret what he says as all the right things. That's really what it's about. All the dudes on CNN and MSNBC have to adjust their pants before they stand up. I get it, but I don't have to adjust my pants, and I won't. I will be treating this presidency like Shylock, a grown-ass man who knows the deal. Yes. Yes. Here is what he had to say. This is what Shylock had to say. The villainy you teach me I will execute, and it shall go hard, but I will better the instruction. Oh, yes. Yes, and I love that quote. I love that quote. Yes, we will be so much worse to them. We will show them what it truly means, because we are by nature the more polite crowd. But they have run over us enough that we're going to show them that we're also, if we want to be, there's a reason we're polite. It's because if we wanted to, we could dominate them at the drop of a hat. In a fight, in the streets, wherever. You want it, come get it. But we don't usually take that tone. But we've had enough. We've had enough, and we're going to show them the mettle that we have. All right. So you guys made the rules. We can play by them. In fact, I can't wait. I'm going to drag your little garbage Democrat, commie-cratic, I'm going to use my term, commie-cratic presidential administration as long and hard as I can. I learned it from watching you, Dad. That's funny. What did you think was going to happen? Did you think a Trump loss would turn us all back into the bulwark, Bill Kristol conservatives, excited for more foreign wars? No, my friends. No. Hell no. Bill Kristol, Rick Wilson, all those never-Trumpers, they're fucking dead to us. They aren't conservatives. They're just swamp rat Democrats that play to a base. Play to a different base. Trump announced a new way of thinking about America. In fairness, he didn't invent it. Ross Perot and Pat Buchanan were talking about it when I was a teenager a long time ago. I was even younger than a teenager. But it's here and it's not going anywhere. It's the new Republican Party, and I am so here for it. I don't even know how to express my joy. Yes, that is exactly how I feel. I am all for the new Republican Party, the Trumpian Party. And if the Republicans try to go back to business as usual, well, there's two options. A, you're the fuck out of the Republican Party, or we're the fuck out of the Republican Party, all 72 fucking million of us. Welcome to the Patriot Party, my friends. This is the new fight, and you guys are going to lose. Hell yes, they are. Because for the longest time, we didn't fight. They fought us, and we just they were like gnats, and we just swatted them away and just leave us alone. Leave us alone. But no, now they're coming with the fucking yellow jackets over the last 4 years, and we're coming out with the tennis rackets, and we're going to fucking swat them down real hard. I think the left needs to understand that the right... Hold on. I think the left needs to understand where the right is in the boldest terms possible. And after all, I am the New York correspondent. So let me put it plainly. You want me to accept the legitimacy of a Biden presidency? You want me to be the bigger man? You want me to forget that you said Trump was not your president? You want me to pretend that you ever gave the slightest concern about norms and transfers of power and whatever? I have one thing to say to you. Jerk yourself around. Well, he's not as foul-mouthed as I am. You know exactly what I would say to that. You know exactly what I would say to that. Yeah. They want a peaceful transition of power because it's going in the direction of the Democrats. But did we get that from Barack Obama to Trump? No. We got the most corrupt and villainous transfer of power. The most attacking villain... sorry, how do I say this? Their transfer of power was the biggest attack on the incoming administration this country has ever seen. There's no fucking way we're going to roll down. We're going to lay down and roll over for them. Not going to happen. And, you know, I did my video yesterday talking about the Department of Defense and how it looks like a lot of the things that Trump is doing is signaling that there is no chance he's leaving the White House. Putting all of the DOD under his control, special operations, all of that. Why would he be doing that when he is supposed to be on his way out? Doesn't seem like the moves of a man getting ready to leave the White House. And I guess he tweeted this a couple days ago, but I hadn't seen it until after I made yesterday's video. And this is a tweet from Donald Trump. Biden can only enter the White House as president if he can prove that his ridiculous 80 million votes were not fraudulently or illegally obtained. Exactly. My friends, I don't think Donald Trump is going anywhere. I don't think he's going anywhere. When you see what happened in Detroit, Atlanta, Philadelphia, and Milwaukee, massive voter fraud, he's got a big unsolvable problem. Yes, he does. Now, before I continue any further, I just want to go ahead and remind everybody to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I post content all the time. Our episodes are typically about an hour long. Now, I did recently get the boot here on YouTube, so also make sure that you follow me on BitChute and Rumble. You know, before long, I might end up having to focus primarily on Rumble, depending on how YouTube goes. They have been suppressing my channel like crazy. It's hard for me to pick up 10 new subscribers without them deleting 15. So it's been tough going on YouTube. So if you want this channel to grow, if you want me to be able to keep doing this, please consider sharing this video, sharing the work that I do. If you like it, if you think I suck, well, I don't know why you're watching this far, anyways. But you know, I do put my heart and soul into this, and I really do. You know, it's all piss and vinegar here. I'm just saying exactly what comes to my head when I see this shit. I'm reacting to it, but also, you know, I do have expenses doing this stuff. There are links to my Subscribestar, PayPal, and Patreon down in the description below. Any help that you could give would absolutely be very much appreciated. But anyways, let's go ahead and move forward because there's another tweet that I want to look at, and this is from Lin Wood. And this is where I was talking about Lin Wood dumping a cargo plane full of gasoline onto the wildfire of American politics. And he tweeted, "Good morning. Our country is headed to civil war. A war created by third-party bad actors for their benefit, not for we the people. Communist China is leading the nefarious efforts to take away our freedom. At Real Donald Trump should declare martial law." Now, this seems extreme, but I think I got to agree with him. If we exhaust all of our legal avenues to sort this out, then we're going to have to do something. Mike Pompeo came out and he said that our government has been infiltrated by China at every single level, from governors to local politicians to federal politicians. I'm looking at you, Brian Kemp. I think Brian Kemp took some of that Chinese money. I'm thinking he took some of that Chinese money. And, you know, we've seen that they have that 1,000 Talents program where they've infiltrated our universities by sending CCP members who don't disclose that they're members of the Communist Party to go and do research at universities where they steal all of the research and send it back to China. The Chinese communists are subversive little snakes. And this is not a statement about Chinese people. I feel absolutely horrible for Chinese people that have to live under the boot of the Chinese Communist Party. I feel bad for them. But man, it makes it tough. It makes it tough when anybody that we bring in from China could be a covert CCP operative. It really, it's tough to know what to do. But Lin Wood tweeted this out. He said, "It's a press release from We the People Convention. We the People Convention calls for the president to invoke limited martial law to hold new election in full-page Washington Times ad if legislatures, courts, and Congress do not follow the Constitution." And they're talking about using military tribunals. Now, I do think it's interesting because I did talk the other day that Sidney Powell is versed in military tribunals. And if we have to go the military tribunal route, Do it. Do it. If we have to go the martial law route, do it. Do whatever the fuck you have to. Because we all know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that this election is stolen. And we know, we don't call him Beijing Biden for a reason. He has lined his pockets with Chinese money. We know that the second he gets back into office, he's going to sign off on the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and start outsourcing all of our jobs to China again, and we are going to become completely dependent on them for everything while we lose our middle class even more than we already have. You know, the middle class of the communists or the bourgeoisie, they don't care about the uber rich because, especially nowadays, because they're fashcoms. They have a fascistic economic model where you can become filthy, filthy rich so long as you operate within the outline that the state gives you. If you promote the state narrative, if you promote the state interests, then you can make as much money as you can possibly make. But everybody else are slaves. Everybody else are slaves. And Vladimir Lenin said, the way to eliminate the bourgeoisie is to grind them between the millstones of taxation and inflation. When the founding fathers created this country, did they ever think that we would be paying 40% of our income to taxes? Probably even higher once you factor in all the built-in taxes that we have to pay. We have to pay sales tax. When you factor in the cost of corporate taxes that are factored into the goods that you pay. We probably pay, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that we pay 70% of our income in taxes to the federal government. The founding fathers never imagined that we would be so pilfered by our own government. And that is what has been done. We've seen the middle class just completely evaporate in this country because we are being grinded between the millstones of taxation and inflation. It is the communist plan played out. And nowhere is worse than here in California. Nowhere is worse. And speaking of the Chinese, it's now coming out that that Dominion has very strong Chinese connections. Now, I'm going to report on this, but I also say we need to wait for a little bit more information comes out that confirms all of this. But let's go ahead and take a look at what this is. This is from the Gateway Pundit. The China Connection, parent company of Dominion voting systems, received $400 million from Swiss investment bank, 75% owned by the Chinese government. 75% owned by the Chinese government. So, an investigation into SEC filings has revealed that the firm which owns Dominion Voting Systems received $400 million from a Swiss bank with close ties to the Chinese government less than a month before the election. It was first reported by InfoWars. The investigation centers on Staple Street Capital, which acquired Dominion Voting Systems in 2018. So on October 8th, 2020, Staple Street Capital filed SEC Form D offerings and sales amount of $400 million, with the sales compensation recipient identified as USB Securities. State's investigation, which also notes that another payment of $200 million was received in December 2014. Kind of makes you wonder whether they were trying to rig the 2016 election, which I think they probably did, and they had no idea how much support Donald Trump was going to get, and they still lost, and then they came back, paid twice as much this time around, and then had all kinds of backup plans for these fake ballots and everything. I'm trying to... There's actually no succinct way for me to tie up all the other ways that they're committing voter fraud. I mean, it's absolutely insane. It'll make your head spin. And we'll go through some of that in just a minute here. So USB Securities is a Swiss investment bank which owns 24.99% of UBS Securities Company Limited, a Chinese investment bank. The remaining 75% of the UBS Securities Company Limited is owned by the Chinese government, states the report. Now, it's interesting, if UBS is a Swiss investment bank, why is the Chinese bank called USB Securities Company Limited? I think it's likely to throw people off the trail so you don't realize that there are two separate entities and that one is linked to the Chinese. Because, of course, they probably think we're stupid. The overall owners of the UBS Securities Company Limited are Beijing Guojiang, I don't know how to say that. Which owns 33%. UBS owns 24.99%. Guangdong Com Group owns 14.01%. China Guodian Group, I don't know, I don't know how to pronounce these Chinese words, 14%. And COFCO Group, which also owns 14%. Aside from UBS, the other four owners of UBS Securities are all communist Chinese front groups. So UBS Securities is a Swiss investment bank. Okay, we already read that part. So Beijing Guojiang is a state-owned asset. Guangdong Com Group, 100% stakeholder in the Guangdong provincial government. China Guodian is a state-owned enterprise administered for the SASC for the State Council. COFCO Group is a state-owned enterprise under the direct supervision of the SASAC. The SASAC, the State-Owned Asset Supervision and Administrations Commission of the State Council, is a special commission of the People's Republic of China directly under the State Council. So, Dominion is getting hundreds of millions of dollars from the Chinese government. This cannot fly. You know, all of these electronic voting systems companies, we have no idea what their ownership is. Why do we have, why are we allowing this? How are we supposed to have any transparency in our elections if there's no transparency in who actually is running the elections? This essentially puts China in the driver's seat of our elections. Let that sink in. This is an act of war on their part, I think. You know, I'm waiting for more stories to come out on this. I got a feeling we're not going to hear word one about this from the, from the media, from the mainstream media, who probably who themselves are probably taking Chinese money. Wouldn't surprise me in the least bit. They've been covering up all of this. So let's go through a bunch of headlines of stories that, of course, the mainstream media is not talking about. And these are all from the Gateway Pundit, because the Gateway Pundit is just pumping this all out. So we have a postal subcontractor was told that over 100,000 ballots in Wisconsin were gathered on November 4th and backdated for Election Day. Dominion-trained IT contractor blows up Michigan hearing. They were rescanning, counting ballots 8 to 10 times. And this was Melissa Carone. I actually watched this whole video. It was worth watching. She gave a lot of information. And she said that the entire fucking thing was one big fraudulent effort. She said that she was afraid to even admit that she was a Republican because of the way that all the people at the counting centers were talking about Republicans. She said she was afraid to even say it because of the nasty, vile things they were saying about Republicans. How can we have such partisanship in our vote counting process? Especially when they're keeping away all the GOP poll watchers. They're covering everything up. You know, all you have to do is look and see how the commie-crats, how the commie-crats are acting. And they are acting like they have everything to hide. The transparency from the commie-crats has been clear as mud. They've been putting up every effort possible to stop every investigation, to stop from looking into the machines. And these people love, if they love the idea of Donald Trump failing so much, why don't they want to confirm that Donald Trump was beat? Because they know for a fact that this shit was stolen. Those who act sketchy are typically doing sketchy things. As somebody who used to do sketchy things in my indiscriminate youth, you know, in my more outlaw days, I know that to be true. If you look like a sketchball, you probably are a sketchball. Next, breaking exclusive. We got it. Colonel Waldron confirms that U.S. has a copy of the election night data, traffic, and packets sent overseas to Frankfurt. And that is the Seidel server that General McInerney said that Special Ops Forces got into a gunfight with CIA operatives to secure. Now, can you imagine what the... My mind is still blown by that news. That we had special military forces, apparently 5 of them killed, and 1 CIA operative that was trying to defend the servers killed in a gun battle over this. We have our military and our CIA engaging in gun battles against each other. If that's not civil war, I don't know what is. So, but apparently they have a copy of all of the data packets going over to Frankfurt. And if that's true, that's going to blow this whole thing wide the fuck open. Not that it isn't already, but... So, the next one. Michigan witness says all military ballots she saw look like Xerox copies of each other, 100% for Joe Biden. Right. The military. The military's voting for Joe Biden. I don't think so. The military loves Donald Trump because he's getting them out of harm's way. There's absolutely no fucking way. And they're absolutely butt-fucking retarded if they thought that they could pull one over with military ballots. That's the one they should have left alone. If they knew it was best for them. Another one, update. Dominion employee identified allegedly caught on video downloading data on USB, plugging it into a laptop, manipulating data, and then palming the USB. And this was something that CodeMonkey broke, and it happened in Gwinnett County, which pisses me off to no end because I was born and raised in Gwinnett County. Norcross, baby. Petrie Corners. I'm from Gwinnett, so seeing that this stuff was going on in my home county. Yep, see right here, Dominion representative at Gwinnett County election. Pisses me off to no end. Pisses me off to no end, knowing that stuff is happening in my damn hometown. I was driving completed ballots from New York to Pennsylvania, so I decided to speak up. Update, USPS contract truck driver who transferred 288,000 fraudulent ballots from New York to Pennsylvania speaks at a presser. And I listened to this guy too, and he talked about how there were some very strange irregularities, or some very strange things. The whole thing was irregular. That he was actually driving a truck with almost 300,000 ballots from New York to Pennsylvania. Why are you crossing state lines with ballots? He said at first he didn't think much of it, but then things started getting weird. And, I'm not going to tell his story, but if you guys want to watch that video, it's about 10 minutes long. It's worth listening to. Apparently, normally, like when he gets to a location, he unloads the truck himself, and they said get away, don't look in here. We're going to unload it, and he had to sit there for like 6 hours or something. He said it was just infuriating and sketch, and so he's now speaking up and testifying about this. We also have a Michigan poll watcher says he witnessed shady 4 a.m. ballot dumps for Joe Biden. Just dollies full of ballots wheeled in at 4 o'clock in the morning. We've all heard those stories already. And then Missouri lawmaker discovers Dominion failed to pay Missouri taxes and is not allowed to operate in the state, but they are still running elections here. Still allowed to do it. Because what we have now is complete unequal application of the rule of law. We've been seeing this time and time again, and I've talked about this over and over again, how all the Antifa and BLM people, they get to go out and riot in the streets, and if they even get arrested, they just get let go with no bond, no charges, anything, back out to do it again. Some of them charged, there was one story, some guy got arrested like 99 times. How do you get arrested 99 times, and you're not in prison? That doesn't make any damn sense. Yet if you're the McCloskeys, you go and you stand outside in front of your house with guns trying to protect yourself from those same damn people, and you get charged with felonies. Kyle Rittenhouse, you try to run away. You end up having to defend yourself. You kill a pedophile and a wife abuser, and then you shoot a burglar. What do you get? They charge you with the maximum. First degree murder. But, of course, the news is not letting us hear any of this. This is why we're so thankful to outlets like the Gateway Pundit that are dropping all of this information for us to see. You got other ones like Newsmax and One America News that have also been on top of a lot of this. But I think we're going to see some bad things happening to the legacy corporate media, and James O'Keefe is dropping bombshells right now. So James O'Keefe over at Project Veritas, he has been apparently getting in on the 9 a.m. phone calls with CNN for the past 2 months and recording them all. And tonight he started dropping the first one. We got 3 of them, and I'm going to play all 3 of them for you. So let's start with the first one here. So hashtag CNN tapes.
CNN says on Jeff Zucker's 9 a.m. editorial conference call how they, the Democratic Party, powerful interest groups, may determine how CNN will cover Trump not conceding the presidential election.
I just want to underscore something that Michael said earlier about the transition and Trump, because I've been talking to a lot of people this morning on both sides, and I just keep hearing the same thing, both from Republicans who have not come out to congratulate Biden, but also to those who have in the Democrats, and that is that we have to be, news organizations have to be very careful and very responsible about not giving Trump too much of a platform on his not conceding, because they feel the transition can go forward. And, other than the national security briefings, which are critical to start now, they just don't want us to exaggerate that Trump isn't leaving office. And I'm going to have a lot of specific reporting on that later today, but just big picture wanted to underscore what Michael had said.
Yep, agreed.
On the issue of why it's important to get the transition going right, the 9/11 report talks about one of the problems was that the trouble that was brewing got lost during the transition. So if you want a good concrete example of what happens when you don't have a good transition, go look at the Twin Towers.
Yeah. So I think that's an important point. I think it was discussed a little bit yesterday in terms of national security. I think it's really important to raise again. I would encourage folks to think about, that 9/11 Commission report and the lack of transition.
So these people think that they get to determine the narrative. And apparently, a bunch of these Republicans have been saying not to talk about Trump not leaving. Now, it is kind of funny because I did notice, I talked about in my last video how there had been a lot of chatter about will Trump leave office. All the media had been speculating that should Trump lose, he might have to be dragged out of the office. And a lot of that went quiet recently. Looks like that was ordered from the top down. And it looks like they're being told that by the politicians. Thomas Jefferson said that the free press is supposed to be a censor on the government. They're supposed to keep the government in check. They're not supposed to get their marching orders from the government. This is not a free press. This is a controlled press. This is a state press. They're doing the government's bidding. And I'm not surprised in the least bit to hear that even a lot of the Republicans who have not come out and told Trump to concede, that they're still kind of saying, don't play it up, don't play it up. That they're giving the same line as the Democrats and then, the Mitt Romneys of the world. Because we know there's a lot of traitors in the Republican Party. And if they reveal themselves, they know that the Trump faithful will come after them with a vengeance. Now, let's go to the next one. So we've already established that CNN is not independent media, that they get their marching orders from the political parties. Let's see what they say on the next one here.
Jeff Zucker, president of CNN, explains to his editorial team on the 9 a.m. call that we recorded that they should, quote, lean in to not normalizing Trump's erratic behavior. Listen to this.
Okay, I just want to reemphasize that, I think we cannot normalize what has happened here in the last week with Trump and his behavior. And I go back to what David Chalian said, that this is a president who knows he's losing, who knows he's in trouble, is sick, maybe is on the after effects of steroids or not, I don't know, but he is acting erratically and desperately, and we need to not normalize that. You know, this is what we've come to expect for the last 3.5 years, 4 years, but it clearly is exacerbated by the time that we're in and the issues that he's dealing with. And I think that we cannot just let it be normalized. He is all over the place and acting erratically, and I think we need to lean into that.
The Trump media, moves immediately from, okay, well, never mind that unmasking was, found to be completely nonsensical, to the latest alleged scandal, and expects everybody to just follow suit. So I don't think that we should be repeating unsubstantiated smears just because the right-wing media suggests that we should. Frankly, if we've made any mistake, it's that our banners have been too polite, and we need to go well after Lindsey Graham. There's a ton going on. Let's stay strong. Let's stay newsy. Let's stay urgent. Let's be smart. There is a lot of news out there, and Lindsey Graham really deserves it. Each of these so-called scandals for Trump, each of these things, we should just once again be careful to say that this is the one that is going to undo him with his voters. And to respond to David Chalian's points about politics, I don't know why we would expect any of these politicians to have a conscience and or expect that politics wouldn't be completely hypocritical. And for us to expect anything else would be naive.
They're sitting there talking about Trump's erratic behavior. This is the Orange Man Bad Network, where all they do is talk about Orange Man Bad, and all they're doing there is talking about how they can continue to talk about Orange Man Bad. They have never looked into a single one of the claims that Trump has made about some sort of scandal. They instead write it off, and they say not to give it any credit, essentially. It's just them going over how to continue attacking Trump and conservatives and his base. Absolutely disgusting. And we got one last one. I think he put out 3 tonight. Maybe he's put out another one while I've been recording.
On the 9 a.m. conference calls every morning at CNN, their top leadership views their competition, Fox News and Tucker Carlson in particular, as racist and misinformed. Roll the tape.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you're going to talk about the story, I think it's unavoidable that you have to talk about the naked racism of Tucker Carlson. Because that's really what drove this anti-diversity push. Trump watches Tucker Carlson's show and then reacts. And just as sort of the white supremacy hour they have on Fox News every night, I think you can't disconnect the two.
What Donald Trump did last night, for anybody who watches Fox News, he was just airing all of the grievances he hears on Fox News every night. And that's all he did.
Well, that's absolute bullshit. That just goes to show that they have no understanding of the arguments that are being made, especially when Trump has been slamming Fox News for more than the past couple months that Project Veritas has been recording this. Trump doesn't just repeat Fox News. That's absolute garbage. And it goes, if anything, CNN needs to hold a mirror up to themselves, because Oliver Darcy and Brian Stelter are essentially just the Fox News rebuttal crew. All they do is cover Fox News. Meanwhile, nobody's fucking watching Fox News anymore. They've lost their viewership by like 50%. Even Tucker Carlson is getting dragged by conservatives, because Fox News has revealed themselves to essentially be CNN with a pandering to a base. These guys are awful. These guys are awful. But of course, all this stuff that we've shown, this just goes to show they will not let us see it. They will not let us see the information. And big tech is just as bad. Big tech is just as bad. So the other day, we had this mathematician who testified in Arizona over a lot of the election material that he saw in all of the computer data. And while he was testifying, Twitter suspended him. It's not like he was sitting there live tweeting during his testimony. But apparently they suspended him during his testimony. And so we're going to wrap up today's episode with this story here. So Bobby Pitton, or Pitton, I don't know how you say his name, an expert witness who testified in the Arizona election fraud hearing on Monday, has just had his Twitter account suspended. And so Twitter suspends the accounts of @Bobby Pitton while he gave a witness report at the hearings in Arizona. And so Pitton was testifying in front of Arizona politicians at a hearing when he claimed he would stake his life on the data being fraudulent. And let's go ahead and watch this video because this one was going around.
If you could just tell us in your in the simplest way possible as an expert, what is your opinion as to the validity of the numbers that were certified today by the Secretary of State and the governor about this election?
If I was an executive at a publicly traded company, I would never sign that because I risked jail time and having all my money taken from me in lawsuits. So to answer your question, I would never, ever have certified. I'd rather resign than have certified those results.
So your professional opinion is that the numbers are fraudulent?
I believe they're fraudulent based on the data. And my sister asked me a simple question this morning. She goes, "How sure are you?" And my sister's a pretty stubborn person like me. And I said, I'd be willing to put my life on it. I'm that sure about the analysis, assuming that the data that I got from the state and everything else was accurate. So, if you're giving me all inaccurate data from everywhere, then, that's my only caveat.
He'd stake his life on it. Now, guys, before we go, I just want to leave you with a message. It's going to get rough for all of us. We are going to be constantly berated. They're going to try to beat us into submission. They're going to do everything that they can to get us to kowtow, to give up the fight. We must fortify our minds and we must fortify our hearts and know that we are doing what is right. And do not bend or break to all of the pressure that they're going to put on each and every one of us individually. Now, this could be social media. This could be the mainstream media. This could be your commie-crat aunt. It could be your friends. There are going to be a ton of people. They're just going to start falling. They're going to start losing the faith. They're going to start losing faith that we're going to sort this out. They're going to get more doubtful. They're going to get more black-pilled. And they're going to try to drag you with them. They're going to say, come on, man, just give it up. Don't do it. Don't do it. This country needs people like you, people like me, anybody else that we can touch to stand up against the tyranny that is being put upon us. Stand strong, no matter how hard the wind blows. Do not let it knock you over. Do not give up. And as always, rev your engines, ride hard, and fight like hell.